Discussion.
Actually, Massey brought up something that, in terms of time goes, I want to discuss the amount of time we use during meetings on items that we as aldermen typically should be reviewing prior to our meeting, and by emailing and calling our staff. Our meetings are business meetings. Possess specific agenda items required to operate our city. I don't like to listen to political rallies. Similar to the citizens we heard, I would like our discussions to be cut to 3-minute rounds. Maybe we do three 3-minute rounds or 2 3-minute rounds. This 10 minutes is just, it's, to me, I don't know why we would need 10 minutes.
Right, I apologize, I was doing three-minute
I'd like
rounds.
the citizens to be heard to do 3 minutes, and then the second round we do 3 minutes also. I mean, I've never, I don't know that I've ever used 3 minutes on discussion, but if we think we need 3 rounds of 3 minutes, I mean, but I don't want to have 3 rounds of 10 minutes, that's for sure.
Either two.
I mean, I have 3 minutes is a freaking long time as far as I can tell. If you've done your homework, you've done what you're supposed to do, and maybe a question to the staff, or the staff steps up, doesn't count as that 3 minutes. That's hopefully you've done your questioning to the staff before then, but sometimes they do bring up stuff that we don't know about right in the middle of it.
Well, we'd be glad from staff, we can instruct staff that we would be glad to take judicious notes and answer things prior to the calling of the vote, if that's helpful, so that does not interrupt speakers' time. We can be respectful of that, we're not staff and your team. So, for instance, if you ask a series of different questions, and some of them may be, when I was an alderman, you may ask a rhetorical question, but we can jot those things down and answer them before the roll call, so that we're not impeding on people's time on the floor. So,
I'm just thinking, to speed up the meeting. I don't know that you've had that many questions. We don't really have that many, but what do y'all think? I mean, do you want to come up with other suggestions? I mean, I just don't.
So 3 rounds, we're at 2
Well, I'm just
10-minute
saying
rounds.
2 rounds of 3 minutes apiece. I mean, you can come back and say, hey, I want the first one to be 5 and the second one to be 3. I mean, I can't, I'm not even close to using that. But
to me, 3 minutes goes fast.
You'd be surprised.
Yes. I can only relate it to recent campaigning when we're at meet and greets or neighborhood events.
You're supposed to do that 30
3
seconds.
minutes.
well, it certainly doesn't
It goes
cut
very
down
fast.
on rhetoric, though, doesn't it? You have to make your point. Yeah.
So,
Well, I would just say, that, for the sake of good conversation, or good debate, dialogue, and discourse and discourse with a good terminology, that, 3 minutes is probably not a lot of time. A couple of minutes, 2 rounds of 5 minutes would probably be something that would be workable. That's just my opinion when I was an alderman, simply put.
Something that would help is if we are interrupted by, let's say, another alderman who wants to make a point. I mean, you can raise the correct motion at that point, or raise point of clarification or information. But sometimes we just talk over each other, and sometimes and we shouldn't, but we do. And when that occurs, if I'm respectful and give Alderman Owens, for example, the opportunity to speak on something. I just used you for example purpose. And he's going on, but he's making something that's bringing clarification to my own position. I wouldn't want to relinquish my time, and sometimes that happens. And we move on and say, well, you've already spoken, Alderman Massey, but I only spoke for 5 minutes, and then that's out of respect for Alderman Owens, I yielded the floor without really yielding the floor. I just allowed you to interrupt and speak, and so.
Well, and I'm interrupting you, so I apologize. But with the parliamentarian, with a shot clock, so to speak, we could say, "Madam Parliamentarian, please stop the clock," so that it's frozen there. And then that question can be asked, and then it can be restarted when the
That's true.
floor is given back. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, I agree. I think that that's what we need to do, and back to Alderman Sanders' point, I think that those type of things will actually help facilitate better discussions on the board, in all honesty. As far as the zoning discussions go, when we are required to give our justification, are we even on a time clock for those zoning discussions where we're required to give our justification, Attorney Harris?
No, I don't think so. I think when you cast your vote,
The debate has been concluded, so
the
debate
debate
is
has been
statement.
concluded, so you're off the clock. And it's very important to give those reasons, and I wouldn't want to restrict that.
But sometimes the debate itself ends up being part of our justification. I do that, that's some of my longest
Well, all right, well, let me
discussions.
excuse me, Mr. Trill, let me add to that, the comments that you have made previously during the course of the discussion count too.
Part of your record, yeah.
That's part of the record, it's the entire proceeding. So if you've said it once,
You don't have to repeat it.
you don't have to go back through it, but what I advised on many occasions is to look to those criteria and to make certain when you vote that you follow, in whatever fashion you choose to vote, the established criteria. It's very helpful to the defense of the actions of our boards and commissions.
And being number 5, typically people have already said everything, so I just do ditto. I mean, you don't have to go, I don't repeat what y'all just said too, so that's what you're.
And we do that, like Board
Yeah.
of Zoning Appeals, I see that at Planning
To do
Commission,
that.
where, as previously stated by Alderman Massey, I will be voting no or yea, based on that.
Getting back to the discussion time, how about if I make a motion that we have, the first round is 5 minutes and the second round is 3 minutes?
It's in the form of a motion. Is there a second?
Second, because I'd like to discuss.
Any discussion?
I
Yes.
think I'd be reluctant to go back from 5 to 3. I might consider something of a 2 5 minutes. I thought that's kind of where we were headed earlier.
No, I was just
Like
recommending, I just recommend.
Right now, and again, I'm looking at everybody else here.
I'm okay with making a recommendation, we have 2 5-minute sections, trying to streamline
All right.
the meeting.
You're going to amend your motion.
My motion to 2 5-minute sessions of discussion.
And so you had seconded the
Second.
previous one.
So I'm seconding
this.
the name.
Okay. Any other further discussion?
I think
Yes.
from my position, Alderman Yonda, that is another issue that I think is better decided by the voters. And if they are watching me or any other alderman go on too long about an issue, then the voters will contact us and say that. I generally don't get those comments. The comments I get is usually favorable to me. And they want to hear some of those things. And so there may be an occasion where you or Alderman Owens or Alderman Gibson is taking the lead on an issue, and you need your full 20 minutes, 2 to 10-minute increments. And I think you should have that full amount of time, regardless of whether or not I want to listen to you for that full amount of time, or regardless of whether or not the people who elected me support you speaking for that long. I think there are some issues that require that time and that effort, and I wouldn't be in favorable of placing restrictions on that time. Now, what I will try to do a better job of is where I can personally is to be more concise, if I can. And, y'all are welcome to say, Alderman Massey, can you conclude? I understand the reason for doing that sometimes. If somebody's not being germane to a topic, then by all means, raise that point of order. But I also think we should give each other some leeway and let the process work itself out and let the citizens decide whether or not we, as their elected officials, are wasting time.
And I think we have, again, the past, the Lion King. It's my first Disney reference. The past is in the past. Where we may have had some trust issues. Again, it's a new board, a new year. we're going to move forward that way. I like the conversation about more concise. I'm still good with the 2 5-minute, but, that's what
Any other discussion?
I think 5 and 5 is a good compromise. You know, I suppose there could be a willingness of the board to suspend the rules if you say, like you mentioned, like that there's something that is really relevant that you need to get out. And I think that speaks back to
trust.
we've got to work together. I mean, we do, guys. I think I hope we can. I believe we can, and we're not always going to agree. And we're going to agree to disagree a lot. But I want to be respectful of you. I want to be respectful of you. And at the end of the day, respect the decision that the board makes. And so I think we can do that. I feel good about it.
But let me make one other point. I am generally in the minority on a lot of the zoning issues. Now, I don't know where Alderman Sanders is going to fall on those issues, but as it is, if you and Alderman Gibson and Alderman Yonda want to take a defensive position of whatever zoning the administration is requesting, then you, by virtue of the fact that you still hold the majority, would be able to speak and carry the administration's position on a particular issue. And I, as a member of the minority most of the time on these zoning issues, am not in favor of relinquishing the time that I'm allowed to speak on citizens that are not in favor of some of those zoning issues. So I would just really ask you to consider that, and the position you place me in as a representative of the minority on some of these issues. I don't always like being the guy that gets up there and has to make those long speeches, if you will, but sometimes I feel like it's necessary, and I'm the only voice there is for a certain segment of our city. So I just ask that you not take that voice away from the citizens, because that's really what we're doing if we limit the time. I'm their voice. I'm not speaking on behalf of Dean Massey. I'm speaking on behalf of possibly 50% of the voters in our city. And that's a big number. So.
Well, I also
doing the same
we
thing.
speak on
So-
on everyone's behalf, so.
Well, but there's divided issues like the zoning.
Well, we do, but it's not a team sport.
Yeah.
Contrary to what this past election was, it is not a team sport. We are individuals who are charged with representing the people who elected us, but also those that didn't.
Yeah.
Alderman Sanders.
Thank you,
Yes.
sorry.
Go ahead.
I tend to look at the time that we get to speak there as a time to address the citizens' concerns that have contacted us, to let them know that we have listened to them and try to convince our colleagues to see their point of view, and to let them know we have been paying attention and heard what they said. So I tend to kind of agree, limiting the time from the 10 minutes we had. I'm trying to think of times where the 10 minutes or 20 minutes was used on every agenda item. I think it was rare. So I don't know.
I don't think someone used the word a willingness to suspend the rules. And again, if we are going to move into 2019 with positive intent that we are going to work toward, if there is an issue that we are all behaving respectfully, I hate to use the word behave, but if we're all working toward that, again, having good conversation, I think that with trust, with time, that we're going to feel that comfort level of being comfortable, majority, non-majority, whatever that is, of allowing that dissenting voice to possibly suspend those rules and have further discussion. But a lot of it has to do with tone. A lot of, again, we're delving into more than we need to.
It's been motioned and seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Alderman Massey?
No.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda?
Yes.
Alderman Sanders?
No.
All right, and it carries. We'll have 2 5-minute sessions at board meetings when you have the floor. A couple, again, just to.
I've got another thing.
Okay.